Hi everyone, welcome to Chelle Crochet. Hi everyone, how are you today? Welcome back to Chelle Crochet for my August crochet update. And a big welcome to all the new subscribers, for everyone who's come over from Debbie the Canadian Crocheter and from Saje Place. A big welcome and a big thank you for joining us. I thought today would be a good time to give you a little bit of a lowdown of how things go around here. I generally podcast about once a month. It's usually at the very end of the month so that I can show you everything that I've been making, mostly focusing on finished objects and then some whips, and if there's time, maybe some yarny goodness in terms of acquisitions. Generally speaking though, I'm here once a month, and if I come back, it's for things like tags or different cals or mals that may be going on that have special videos associated with them. So if you are new, please feel free to have a look at all the playlists I have going on my channel. I did break them out before I started, which was only in January of this year in terms of podcasting. I did do some montages of 2019 in terms of the things that I was making, but I'm not in those videos. And then in the very end of 2019, I was tagged in one of the 20 question tags that goes around, actually 2 of them. So I did start my channel by coming on video to answer some questions. So if you would like to get to know me better, those videos are there as well. Okay, so let's get to the crochet goodness. Previously on the Canadian Crocheter, I hope that was funny. I was really wanting to say that because I thought it was hilarious. So I hope it was funny to you guys as well. But what I mean is the next 3 finished objects I am going to talk about are the things I showed when I was at Debbie's and we did a podcast together. Anyway, here we go. These are going to be super quick because I did talk about them already, and if you have any questions, just leave me a comment below. I did a baby blanket using the Value Yarn, Craft Smart Value Yarn from Michaels. And this is widthwise. I'm going to do the disappearing trick. And it's a solid and a variegated. And then this is lengthwise. So it's just a granny rectangle. I followed the tutorial from the Secret Yarnery to get it going, and then I just continued on my own and did the color changes on my own. We were discussing the solid yarn does tend to work up a little more plump than the variegated in this particular brand of yarn. So that is that. It's actually quite big for a baby blanket, but I was basically just using up the yarn that I had for that project. Number 1. Number 2. So again, I've talked about this a few times, so I'll keep it really short. The first project I made following the Jada and Stitches Granny Square game was this ginormous 15 square granny scarf, which I'm really grateful that Debbie actually put it on in a different manner than I'd ever thought of doing it, because I always think of wrapping it around my head twice, but Debbie went once one way and once the other way, so I'm going to see if I can try that. So here I go. It's my first try, and sitting down is probably not the best, but hey. Once in one direction and once in the other direction. Gold! Love it! So these are really fun to make. So there's a couple of cheats. First of all, cheating is allowed in the game, / modifying it for your own rules. I did all my centers with 1 yarn and all my final row and just a single crochet border with 1 yarn. And this is a mill end, but I know it's homespun. And then I had homespun that I used for the rest. And I just pulled apart some striped ones so that I had extra balls of color choices to be using, because the whole point of the game is that you have to change colors on the fly, and it makes it really wacky and fun, and man did it go fast. So that'll be a super warm Doctor Who-ish type scarf for me for the coming winter. But the last previously shown item was another Just Fill Festive shawl that I made using the Bernat Handicrafter Stripey which is a very different kind of cotton than regular Handicrafter. Much softer and very wearable. Just unfortunate, as mentioned, that there's no solids and they're only the tiny little cakes. So it is what it is, but it's a bit of a bright spot in terms of cotton for Canada. And if you prefer a softer yarn for making your kitchen stuff, and you can find it in your local Walmart, the only place it's available, go for it because it's great. And this one is called Beach House, and a lovely pattern again from Kalisha. And the description box will have all the details to anything that you may be wondering about, and if something's not there, please don't hesitate to ask. So if I can find some kind of like party hats or fireworks or something to be able to pop in here and have them explode, I would, because my king size blanket is done. Yay! So I finished it on August the 13th, so I was really excited about that because it was before the middle of the month. And I'm going to be obviously popping up some pictures here so that I can show you, because it's way too heavy to be lugging around. It took me 7 and a bit. Actually, I have the yarn. So the main part of the blanket is made in this Bernat Handicrafter regular cotton. And I keep forgetting to grab it, but I have a pet blanket that I had made about 6 years ago in this yarn, and it's been through the laundry so many times that it gave me the idea, and it's nice and soft. It doesn't feel the way kitchen cotton feels when you first start using it. So, and we wanted something really breathable for the bedroom because it can get quite warm in the summer months. So, and it's got weight to it, so you feel like you have a blanket on you, but you're not sweltering having a blanket on you. So anyway, these I had found at Lens Mills on clearance. So what they were was already marked down. Lens Mills does their clearance where they put things with yellow tags on individual skeins of yarn. And but then they do a thing where they'll have an additional 50% off all those labeled yarns. So there's a yellow tag on here that says $10, but that means I got it for $5, and that's how this all started. So I got 8 of them, and this is what's left. It's probably about 2/3 to 3/4 of the final skein that's left. And as you can see, the king size blanket had no problem completely covering the bed. It has good drape at the bottom and the sides. And all I did was I made sure I started with an odd stitch count because I knew I was going to do some lace work. And so I wanted the tops and the bottom of the blanket to be a little more sturdy. So a full skein went into it, and just well, obviously you have to do your foundation row, but after that just double crochets for a whole skein. And then I did a section that was 1 row of lace with 3 rows of double, and I did that for a whole skein. And then I switched it to 1 row of lace with 2 rows of double crochet for the main bulk of the body of the blanket, and then I worked it my way back down so that it had those sturdier sections at each end. And I was doing a little bit of lace work so that I had my yarn go a little bit further, which it really did help with that. Instead of doing the regular double crochet chain 1 skip 1, I was actually doing double crochet chain 2 skip 1. And I guess just my chaining in general is a bit tight, but I've noticed every time I do that, it really pulls in on the work. And I wanted this blanket to have a nice ease to it and a stretch to it because double crochets are stretchy. And so I tested it out for a bit. It was working fine. It didn't make the blanket bow or do anything strange. So I stuck to that pattern. So I'll give you a brief rundown of the pattern I made up and used for the blanket in the description box below. So if anyone wants to try it, you're welcome to. Okay? And the blanket is done. No more talking about king size blanket, I promise. So it was August for Seta from Seta's Place's 2020 calendar cal, which I am participating in. And this is my August hat. And I did not follow a pattern for this hat. What I did was the traditional half double in the back loop for the brim. And then I did a bunch of double crochets, or sorry, half double crochets alternating with double crochets. And I was holding double throughout. So this is Mandela tweed, 2 different sections held double. And then the Mandela tweed continues throughout the entire hat. I have a red scrap ball here, and then I have this funky, loopy, weird yarn that I got as a mill end from Yarnspirations. And I just hoped that it would work out really well with the picture. Initially, I was kind of disappointed with it, but I got some really nice feedback from the group on Seta's Place. So thanks for the encouragement, everyone. I think that I just thought there was some green green in this mandala tweed, and I was just hoping that that would have shown more. And I guess when you're working on it and you have something in your mind, you don't necessarily see it the way it turned out. But I think in the end it did do a pretty good job to represent the picture. And actually today's August 31st, so I guess we're gonna get the new picture soon for September. So on to the next hat. Thanks, Seta, for all of the fun with this crochet along. It has been great. And then one night I was just looking for something different to do, and so I pulled out one of my balls of Bernat Handicrafter scrub off, and I will post the name of this one in the description box because I forget what it is right now. But I was just working on my own little mandala, and it will be a nice dishcloth. Typically when I use this yarn, I tend to hold it double to give different sections of it that scrubby feel, and I just hold it with another cotton. And this time I just worked with it on its own, and I thought it turned out super pretty. I ended up finishing that scarf playing the Jada game, the Granny Square game, but I still had some of the scraps left from the homespun, so I made a corner to corner in the same manner. So I sat for the second I guess the last 2 times they played the game, I sat with this and I just did corner to corner until I ran out of yarn. And so there's awesome striping on this. I had the most of the color that I used to seam it, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then I just worked all the different scrap balls I had left, blind grabbing, if you will, throughout until it was done. So I love how all these colors turned out together. And I made one of these using a grab bag ball of yarn that I since found out was a scarfie, and it turned out so cool. And I thought, okay, if you're gonna do corner to corner cowl, what are you gonna join? So I've opted to join my cowls so that they really show at the center. And I'm gonna stick it on even though it's really hot in here. So people can decide whether they want this seam sort of section to be present or to hide it at the back. So you can see it's super warm. It's going to come up if you want, or you can just cowl it down, and even if you need to, pop it up. And it's just so colorful. Love it. So we'll see. This one might just stay with me. All done. Okay, so another baby blanket as requested by a girlfriend of mine, and this is using Bernat coordinates yarn. It actually came as millends in those bags you get from Yarn Inspirations, and I've had it for quite a while. So it's corner to corner, just with a simple border, really simple edging in the same color as requested. I was very tempted to put a pop of color around the outside because I thought it would really make the other yarn pop, but it was requested that it stay plain, so that's what happened. And this is a more traditional baby blanket size, also held double, so if the mom wants to do tummy time, then there's a little extra padding there. It's super soft and squishy, and this hasn't even been in the washer and the dryer yet. I follow Chris at the Secret Yarnery's way of sort of evening out your stitches with the chaining around the outside, and what I opted to do for this border is just sort of double it with a double set of that, and it really makes for just a really pretty simple border. Yeah, all done. And then another item by special request is a bath rug. Trying to find some blanket yarn on the cheap, and there was none, but I will show you in a second what I did use instead. But for the bathroom, you want to have some cotton in there so you get some absorbency. So what you're seeing looking as marled is me putting a third strand. So this is 3 strands held together, 2 of this yarn I'm going to show you in a sec, and 1 of just regular off-white Handicrafter cotton, and basically just standard bath mat size, and that is also a commission. And here's the yarn. So I was able to find some of this Bernat blanket breezy on clearance at Walmart for $5 a skein, and it is super thin. So I don't know what do they have it on here? They must. Oh, so they're calling it a 4, but I mean, it's plump perhaps because of the yarn that's coming off, but it's not, it doesn't feel like a 4. So held 2 strands of this together with a strand of cotton, and I used an 8mm hook because it was a bath mat, not a blanket, and it's got a nice sturdy fabric doing that, and this is super soft and squishy and plushy, so it worked out. So my last make is a pocket shawl. Jumped on the bandwagon. And I made it using some yarn I received for my birthday. This is Bernat Super Value Stripes in the colorway Oceana. And it is trimmed using Ice Yarns Savor 100 in the color teal. And the pockets are made out of that. So let me just get this on. So how cozy am I? So here it is. The pockets are in the Savor 100 as well. And basically I just made my own up. I watched a little bit of Crystal from Bag O' Day in terms of starting chain numbers and things like that, and seen so many pictures of so many beautiful ones on Facebook, and I've seen Jo's video from Jo's Web where she had so many beautiful ones, I think using the pattern that was going crazy everywhere. So I just made up my own. I started with some single, half double, and double in here, one solid row of double, and then I just started the cross stitch. The bulk of this shawl is made with a double crochet cross stitch, and I'm going to hold it up so you can see a little bit more closely. So the shawl is worked lengthwise, and there is the stitching. And I thought that just gave it a really nice texture. It looks kind of 3D-ish almost. And I was lucky because I had the teal already, and the stripe yarn here was 3 skeins, was part of a birthday gift. And so this scarf took the full 3 skeins of the Super Value stripes, and then it took about Savor 100, probably close to 2 because of the pockets. I'd have to check that, maybe only 1. Yeah, so they complement each other. The Savor 100 works up a little more plump than the Variegated does. But here's my tale of woe. I'm not a fan of the pocket part. Like, making the pocket is fine, but sewing the pocket on, oh my gosh. For me, it's the same reason I don't do amigurumi. I do not like sewing. I like crocheting. So getting the pockets to be even and straight were not enjoyable to me, but it's done. Okay, so the first whip I'm going to talk about is my Granny Square Diamond blanket, which has not gotten much love at all in the last month because I was working so much on the king size blanket. I am getting up there on my black squares though. I need a total of 28, and I'm pretty sure I have at least 22 of them done. So after those are done, I have to make a bunch of triangles, and then I have to put it together. And I have a plan for putting it together, and in theory that plan is going to be very easy, so that it will look like the granny squares are in diamond shapes, just by the way it's being assembled with all the black squares. So I really want to put some time and effort into that in September. I know I said I was going to take it easy with that blanket, but it's time to put some pressure on myself and make sure that it happens. And then another work in progress, I started my cake squares. So I don't know what to call this blanket. If anyone has a good idea what to call this blanket, I know Rose, you've made some. Did you give it any fancy fun name? I started doing my granny square blanket using 1 cake per square, and I'm using Bernat Pop to do it. So here's the first one. This colorway is called Radical Botanical, and you'll be hearing more about this because it was a birthday gift. And something really interesting is happening with these squares. This is the first one I made, and yes, there's a little bit of this color at the top here left over. This one worked out to be 17 rounds. And then the next one I made was this one here. And there'll be a full list of all the colors in the description box because I'm not going to remember all of them. And this one worked out to be 18 rounds. And I had a very similar amount of yarn left. And I thought, what the heck, right? So then I did another one. And this one is called Foggy Notion, I believe. I remember this one. Another one, it worked out to be 18 rounds. And this one worked out to be 18 rounds. But then this one worked out to be 17 again, but instead of stopping, I decided to keep going. So I'm going to fudge it. I haven't decided how I'm going to fudge it yet because I am going to make them 18 rounds. And this one also worked out to be stopping before I got to finish the 18th round. So I thought that's really interesting. And the labeling on all of the Bernat Pops is identical, even where they're made, the numbers, everything is identical. But I know that the ones that are working up smaller are older yarn. So not necessarily when I got it, but I think in terms of when they made that colorway, it was made longer ago. So what I have to do is I have to pick a color that is going to be the sort of joining and trim color, and that will take it to 19 rows, because I'm going to do another round in whatever color it is. So if anyone has any color suggestions, I tend to gravitate to black, but I'm not going to do black for this blanket. So I was thinking of maybe just doing Aran, so like a light cream color, because it's in this square for sure. You could argue it's probably in this square. I thought that might look nice. I also have a ton of white I could use. So I have to see how many different colors I have before I know if I'm doing 2 of each color or if I'm just doing 1. And yeah, this is just to be like a lapgan type idea. Anyway, those are fun because the color changes for me and I don't have to think much. And when you need just a mindless project, as my friends would say, it's a great one to have on the go. Okay, so I am going to do a separate video for all of the birthday goodness that was gifted to me in August and some other acquisitions I made on my own. I know you can see some of them. And one thing I'm just going to close this video out is by letting you know the last couple of things, because I promised, for those of you who have watched the video where I unboxed the yarn that Debbie so generously gifted me, if you haven't seen that video, just go back to the last video I did and you'll see a big box of yarn. She kept giving me things. So one of the things that I was so excited that she gifted me was her mug, her signature mug, and it says "Talk Soon" on the back. So I'm super happy that I have this. And she also passed along to me this beautiful bag. As many of you know, we were supposed to all be gathering in last April for Stitch Fest, but we were unable to do that. And so what Debbie ended up doing was she kept putting things in this bag. So I ended up leaving with a whole bunch of yarn. This was hilarious. She had a couple of these come and she just passed me one and she said, "We'll both make a hat." So I've never touched this before. She handed it to me. Landscapes Fusion. So that'll make a really cool hat. This random sweet roll Frosty, and this is the colorway Iced Coffee. I have used one sweet roll before this, and it was not this tweedy type look, which will be fun, and they're super soft, so that's awesome. And a random Karen cake in rainbow sherbet, which is super bright, would be adorable for a little one. And she did give me one of these. This is why I knew the name of that one square I had worked up. She gave me another one of these Foggy Notion. So that's awesome. Bernat Pop. I think I mentioned before in another video, like I am doing the square cake blanket, but I also want to do C2C with the cakes. So just working one cake at a time and having all that lovely randomness. And another one I'd never worked with before is this Mandala Baby. I have some regular Mandala, and I have made 1 or 2 shawls using Mandala, but I have only used regular, and I love these colors. Look at all those purples and grays. So Mandala Baby. She may have to pull out the cheaters. Another birthday gift thanks to my little brother. Come in handy. Let's see if I can read this. Oh, much better. This is called Magic Moon. So this is so pretty. I'm thinking of making myself something using this. Look at the section on how it works up. So pretty. And the last was, she gave me an entire pack of these. I hope I'll put these back on. That's what they're for. I had also never used this before. So Mandala Ombre. And this one is Cool, and this is all like some solid color in like whites and grays, different grays, but there's marled yarn in there too. It's super pretty. And I'm looking forward, because there's 4 of these, so I'm really looking forward to doing a nice project with those. So that wraps up all the wonderful things Debbie sent me on my way with as I was visiting with her a couple weeks ago now. I can't believe how quickly it's gone by. Thank you, Debbie. It was so generous of you to pack my Stitch Fest bag full of extra goodies, and I had so much fun that day. So I'm going to wrap it up here for today's podcast, and I am going to record another video in a few minutes that I'll show in about another week or two with the rest of my wonderful August. I had such a great month in terms of acquisitions because it was my birthday and I was gifted either gift cards or money. I had people who just decided to bring me the things they know I love, which included yarn. So I have a bunch of things to show you, and yeah, I'll be back in a couple weeks with that. I also wanted to do a shout out for everybody who participated in Vlogust or Vita, depending upon what you were calling it, for videoing every day in August. I was really enjoying participating as much as I could as a watcher, and I wanted to give a shout out to Priscilla from Distinctive Crochet and to Jackie from Hugging in Good Company, and there were several others who were participating in it, and just thank you for trying to do those types of initiatives. I can't even imagine how much work it is to do a video every day, and I know it's something I can't do, so I do try to watch the ones that I can. So thanks, guys. So plans for September. In September, I would really just like to focus on getting organized for gift giving for Christmas, figuring out what I need to start that's on the bigger project level, and what are some smaller things. I really enjoy crocheting for people and being able to give them things that they like. And I am fortunate that there are some people in my life who really enjoy receiving those gifts. And those are the people that I'm going to concentrate on for Christmas. The other thing I'm going to do is take stock of my Make 9 and see if there's any projects on that Make 9 list that I can whip out in September. And I am going to push the sweater to October because I do need that to come back, but it can't come back quite yet. So knowing that I'm going to have that big project to work on in October, I am going to make sure that I can get as many of the small ones in as possible in September, because I don't want to lose track of those projects. They're on that list for a reason. And that should be the goals for September. Thanks for spending this time with me. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and happy crochet.